One of the major factors that prevent us from sharing our authentic self is rooted in the perception of others, and is often positioned further away from our own personal needs and desires than we'd like to admit. It's fair to say that on some level, we all have a deep-rooted need to be loved, or at the very least accepted by our folk, kin, and peers. Although the methods each individual employs to get these needs met may vary, the fundamental needs are apparent. The primary needs of certainty, significance, love, and contribution play a major role in our personal lives and our social interactions. For although we may not be aware of these needs consciously, we do ensure these needs are met in some way, shape, or form. The most common manifestation of this comes in the form of the fear and avoidance of what others think, or on how we are to be judged or perceived. This is a common area of inner conflict for many, and can be detailed as a major reason why we can fail to harness our own potential, standards, and attain full personal fulfillment and actualization. In this video, we are going to explore further the deep-rooted fear and its associations, whilst learning to reframe this stimulus to serve us, finding the courage to be authentic, to ignore the attention of the hive, and instead focus efforts in finding affection within our own tribe. Now, before we begin, it's important to acknowledge that this fear is justified to some degree, albeit a limited and lesser experience to perhaps what is wired in our primordial psychology.
These men are all guilty. They committed crimes against their own people, against you. And I know you all think they deserve to die. But there's something far worse than death, far worse. I will banish them for life. They will become outlaws, Skorgamors, men of the forest, forever condemned to live in the forest and other deserted places. Their property will be confiscated. They will be branded as Skorgamors, and they can be killed with impunity. This is much worse than death. They will live not as human beings, but as ghosts, outside of human society. Every day forced to regret and remember their decisions and their crimes, yet unable to atone for them.
The idea of being shunned, banished, ostracized from a community or group would have been as though being sentenced to death, and a slow and painful one at that, as the very nature of the human experience is the reliance we have on one another. Our greatest tools and resources are our rationale and logic, and our ability to unify towards a common goal or objective. So it's not too uncommon to experience shame, guilt, embarrassment as just some of the feelings brought about when we feel as though we are being, or at risk of being, removed from this position within our group. Needless to say, in this modern age, this form of collective banishment isn't an experience we have to call upon, thankfully. But our minds don't always understand the context. Instead, experiences of rejection and dismissal in modernity take its place within our emotional states and psyche. This fear of rejection is the cousin of the primordial fear of banishment from the warmth and safety of the certain and known. This can see an individual too afraid of this rejection reject and limit their own opportunities and potential. The most happy and successful people within their fields seem to have one thing in common: their ability to transmute, transform, or reframe the common human fear of the other. They are often principle-led, steadfast, and forgiving in the acknowledgement that rejection is an integral part of the human experience, and get clear on their relationship to this idea. For it is their own reaction or contemplation of this rejection that gives meaning and life to it. Because they are principle-led, they will ensure more energy goes into manufacturing and manifesting people and opportunities that resonate with these principles and interests. They will build a network, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a squad, team, or a tribe of people that support one another, enriching each other's lives, as they are clear on the types of people that will only impoverish it instead. The intention of this woe is self-serving. It ensures we always attempt to be kept in good favour and held in high esteem by those in our lives, or perhaps the potentiality of those who may become part of our lives. However, if this acute self-awareness of others and their thoughts, feelings, and perceptions cause nothing more than an individual to become largely self-conscious, then it's no longer serving its useful purpose. If it is restricting, inhibiting, dulling, censoring the individual's ability to express themselves fully, it will always become exhausting. It will be advantageous for us to recognise that it's better to gain the affection of those we ourselves have great affection or admiration for, and who have our best interests in heart and mind, over gaining the attention of those that don't and only wish to gain from it. So many times I've witnessed individuals in pursuit of love, lust, warmth, abundance, adulation and respect journey to the darkest and coldest of places to receive them, even though some part of them knows that it may never be reciprocated. To be principle-led in this manner means that we have an operational understanding of what it is exactly that goes into fulfilling these areas within our lives. These areas which I'm talking are relationships, friendships, career, personal happiness and personal achievement. For when we can clearly write it down, speak it aloud, and obtain this functional clarity of what it is we value and need, the less likely we are to lose direction, even when knocked or steered off course. To conclude, the perception of ourselves in relation to others and the fears associated are wired into our makeup. Its intention is to serve us, but when out of balance or misunderstood, can cause us a great deal of pain. In the modern world, where attention is capitalized and monetized, the desire to be accepted is largely increased. There exists big money in developing a hive mind consciousness, which makes predicting and creating markets and behavior a lot more feasible. This, coupled with our desire and need to fit in, can cause many in a conflict between their own authenticity and what is deemed to be accepted by this hive. Happy people learn to assimilate their authentic side into their lives without shame nor guilt. They acknowledge that will not always be favoured, liked, or thought highly of by those that are not compatible with them. They do not waste their energy on this notion and instead transmit their frequencies to attracting those that will. They see their time as the biggest and most precious commodity they have to trade, and ensure as much as this fear still exists, they will pay no more mind than they need to. They have a grounded and healthy sense of self-awareness, consciousness and acceptance that cannot be faltered in the face of any trial or tribulation. The saying goes, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one. Happy and successful people just simply know which arseholes they wish to keep around them. Until we give our brains something worth solving, and we get clear on what it is we do want, need, value and accept, then our minds will always continue the cycle of sabotage, hindrance and self-deprecation. It takes a deal of courage to step forward, become accountable and switch off this connection to the hive mind, but with practice it becomes easier. So before you pay attention to negativity from places that are far away from what you would call home, ask yourself, is this attention from the hive or affection shared from your tribe?